What is up, YouTube? You know what? I think I'm going to get back into the coffee with Calvin game. That's what I started with 2.5 years ago when I started getting into politics and really start deep diving. And I was like, why not get back into it? I got the whole package of branding ready to go. Coffee with Calvin. There we go. I even got coasters and I got t-shirts and I got all kinds of good stuff. So why don't we do it? Coffee with Calvin. So I've been a fan of Larry Lessig for a long time. He is a professor of law from, I believe, Harvard. He was talking about IP law very sensibly for a long time. He ran in the 2016 Democratic primary, which nobody knows of because he was eliminated before the first primary debate. So it was only, I believe, Clinton and Sanders. Back then, they didn't want him on the stage because he has made one issue his center point of the campaign, which is corruption in politics. Legalized corruption, meaning that politicians need to spend upwards of half of their time fundraising so that they have money to run the campaigns. They have to fundraise for the party as well, right? And this obviously creates some real concerns for like who they're working for, right? Are they working for the people, or are they working for the people who pay them? Obviously, they are working for the people who pay them. That's kind of how that works. So Larry Lessig had this article from the other day about the vice presidential debate, and I just wanted to walk through it and share some thoughts on that. So here we go. That's not the screen I wanted to share. This is the screen I wanted to share. Let's make it a little bit easier for you guys to read. So he yelled at his TV during the debate. This is the VP debate. Vice President Pence taunted Senator Harris as Trump had taunted Biden. Are you going to pack the court if just Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed? Well, a remark made in order to anger, wound, or provoke someone. Well, I guess he taunted in the sense that he wanted an answer, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of weird to me that they can get away with not answering whether they're going to pack the court or not, or even who they want to have, who they want to nominate for Supreme Court should they win. They've refused to answer that repeatedly. And I think that is kind of weird that they're getting away with it. I think it's weird that both Chris Wallace and Susan, what was her name, let them get away without answering that question. That seems really odd to me. They're asking Trump to disavow, white supremacists for the umpteenth time. And they're not asking the other side to just say whether they're planning on packing the court or not. So that seems super weird to me. Is it taunting? I just see it as trying to get a straight answer, which should be the job of the moderator or the media. Harris responded as Biden had responded. I'm back in the text here. Here we go. The people should have a voice. She added an interesting nugget of history. Lincoln in 1864, even with his own party in control in the Senate, believed it wrong to appoint a justice with less than a month before the election. So this is 150 years ago now. And I guess Lincoln, we like Lincoln, so that's great. I'm going to move this down so you can see it. This is the people should have a voice. It's such a lame argument because obviously the people had a voice. Trump was elected, the Senate was elected. That's how it works. They're elected, as Trump correctly said, for 4 years, not 3, not 3.5. They're elected for 4 years. It's completely by the book. They would be actually abdicating their responsibility by not nominating someone. So Lincoln apparently thought it wrong. And so Larry Lessig goes into here. But Harris didn't even mention a little bit more recent snippet of history. Merrick Garland. The argument that she didn't make, just like Biden before her, was that the Republicans denied President Obama his moderate pick 9 months before the 2016 election because of the principle, as McConnell put it, that the people should speak first. It is utter hypocrisy now to ignore the same principle. So again, but you can argue that case, absolutely. But what McConnell said was that it, like, when, as I understand it anyway, the argument is that, Obama didn't have the Senate, and so they could deny it. They were under no obligation to confirm a Supreme Court nomination when they expect it to be in power after. Right here, the Republicans have the Senate, so it doesn't apply. As far as I haven't gone back and found the quote, but as far as I understand it, he was very clear on that point, that it was because it was different houses. So, and now he goes, that hypocrisy is what's packing this court, giving a man who didn't even win a plurality in 2016 the chance to appoint a third of the court. So, packing the court, as I understand it, as an outsider here, has meant the same thing for decades, which is adding additional seats to the Supreme Court so that you can get to nominate a bunch more lifetime appointments and thus dominate. Your party can dominate the court. That's what packing the court means. And pretending like it means something else, that's not fair game, guys. That's not fair games. Like, you don't win by just changing the meaning of words or phrases that have been in common use since forever. Except that's what's happening over and over again, right? A man who didn't even win a plurality, that's irrelevant. There's nothing in the Constitution or laws that I'm aware of that says, oh, but if you didn't win the popular vote, then you don't get to nominate Supreme Court justices. It's not how it works, guys. Like, play by the fucking rules, right? The rules are the rules. The president gets to nominate a candidate. Justice Ginsburg, if she was so passionate about this, she could have stepped down 4 years ago, and Obama could have nominated someone. I guess that wouldn't have helped because, like, Mitch McConnell wasn't gonna confirm anyone, but she could have stepped down a while ago. So she didn't, and here we are. And why are you even bringing up the plurality issue? It's just not relevant. And the fact that a third of the Supreme Court has, retired or died, I guess, during his tenure, that's just how the game works, guys. Anyway, and if, as I believe the Democrats should say, the Republicans stop that hypocrisy and let the people's choice determine this next appointment, see, this is nonsense, right? The people's choice is determining this because the people chose Donald Trump and the people chose the Senate, and this is how it works. Then the Democrats should openly commit that they won't pack the court. So now he knows what packing the court means, right? Up here he was pretending like he didn't know what it means, and now he shows that he does know what it means. All right. I say that knowing that I don't know whether this is in fact an effective answer for the audience being targeted. I've seen enough compelling campaign polling to know that the question right now is not what feels good to a committed supporter, but what helps persuade the persuadable. Nothing could weaken my support for Biden. I'm not the target audience. We know where he stands. But I'd love to understand why focus on hypocrisy here would not be effective on the persuadable. I've got to believe that the omission is intentional. I've got to believe it is supported by data, but what is the data? How could it possibly make sense to see the high ground here to Trump and Pence? So I guess there's some claps and some responses and stuff. And the comments are actually quite interesting. So wielding raw power is the only thing that matters now. Mitch McConnell has shown us all the way. Abolish the filibuster and pack the court, right? So this is where it gets really interesting, right? So this person is saying that what Trump and McConnell are doing by just executing the job that they were hired by the American population to do, they're demonstrating that they're wielding raw power and demonstrating that raw power is the only thing that matters. And that justifies the other side to now pack the court, which everybody has agreed on for generations is a terrible, terrible idea. Was it Theodore Roosevelt that tried to do it? And even his own party in the Senate didn't go along with it, if I'm not mistaken. There was some. It was an attempt to do this years ago, and Ginsburg herself said it was a terrible idea, right? But these people see what the Republicans are doing as wielding raw power when I see it as just doing what we hired them to do. And so when you project onto them that it's raw power, then that justifies you like, oh, they're villains, right? So we're back in the drama triangle. I'm a victim of their villainous behavior, right? And they're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're just doing what we were hired to do. It's our job, literally. And this guy, let me see here. Or we can simply reinstate the supermajority traditionally required for the U.S. Senate to appoint new justice. Today it's a simple majority. So that was, so that was changed. So that could be done. It would dangle low-hanging fruit. It's hypocrisy on both sides. Yeah. I mean, I don't think people thought it fair in 2016. It was just, he didn't have the Senate. So what are you going to do? And you could absolutely argue that that's a bit rude, but, then again. Yeah, anyway, so let's see here. Yeah, McConnell obstructed a legitimate nomination in 2016. I can get behind that. Like, as far as I know, yeah, that is what happened. Oh, this one is great too. It's really surprising to me that someone as talented with language as Lessig, well, this person can't spell anyway, would use loaded words like pack the cord. Use better words. Isn't that, again, I'm a foreigner here, but isn't that what it's called? Isn't that what it's been called for decades? So, I mean, is it loaded? It's probably loaded. It's also like universally agreed upon that it's a terrible, terrible idea and it would demolish the system. Yeah. And so that leads us back to this whole notion of changing the meaning of words, right? So I don't know if you guys saw, but Hirono, she's not very smart. She's not the smartest senator that we have. She was claiming that now saying sexual preference is offensive. Like as of a month ago, it was not considered offensive, but now apparently it is. And Merriam-Webster changed the meaning of that in the past month. And like everybody and their brother has been using the phrase sexual preference, without that being offensive for a long time and recently, including CNN and other people on the Democrat side. But now all of a sudden it's offensive. And it's like, what the hell, people? And supposedly he's offensive because sexual preference makes it sound like it's a choice, like gender is a choice, right? Fluid, there's 100 genders, and that's a choice, that's totally a choice. But who you're attracted to is not a choice, which, I mean, I don't think it is. I mean, attraction tends to be not a choice. I think I've heard that in the PUA circles. Eben Pagan, famously, what was his alter ego back then? I remember him talking about that. So I guess it's not, but now it's offensive because preference, like, whatever. The whole idea of changing the meaning of words because you can't make your argument on based on the meaning of words as they are, I think, should be completely disqualifying. I watched the movie about Justice Scalia. There's a documentary about him. It's phenomenal. It's really, really great. I'm a huge fan of Scalia based on that documentary. So he would be like, what did the people who wrote the Constitution mean at the time? And in order to discern that, he would use the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, second edition, not the third edition, because the second edition was the one that was valid at the time that they wrote the Constitution. Or I guess you would look for each amendment when it was written and use the appropriate dictionary for that, which I think is genius. I mean, that's what you have to do, right? Because otherwise it's just a sliding scale of like, all right, whatever people want it to mean today. And his whole point is like the founders had a very specific intention, and it talked about certain things in the Constitution, and there's a lot of things that they didn't talk about in the Constitution, and those things should be left up to lawmakers and states, not Supreme Court justices. Right, so the whole idea is, as a justice, your job is not to make rulings that agree with your personal views or not. Your job is to say whether or not it is what the law says about this. What the law says. That's what you're supposed to do as a justice, as I understand it, right? So you're not to make law. You're to interpret the law as best you can, give it as it to what it was intended to mean at the time. And if you want to amend the Constitution, there's a process for that. If you want to make laws, there's a process for that, and it's not done by the Supreme Court. And I'm behind that view 100%. I think that's what should be behind it. And you see the people attacking ACB now, going after, like, they want to see specific outcomes that they agree with, rather than the conversation we should be having is like about what is constitutional and whether she's qualified to figure out what the Constitution meant at the time it was written. That would be my take. And I think the whole idea of changing language, like now they're redefining what packing the court means. It's meant the same thing for decades, and now they're redefining it to mean just, filling vacancies. That is not what it's always meant. So can we just call filling vacancies, and packing the court, aka adding additional seats to the court, we'll call that packing the court, because that's what it's been called. And then I came across this article, why there has never been a Supreme Court justice confirmed in the fall of a presidential election year. So stop it. Apple News keeps opening for me, and I don't have a fix for it. I'm not asking it to open. I have done nothing to make it open. I've tried to figure out why the fuck Apple News wants to keep thrusting itself upon me. It keeps doing that only on this Mac. If anyone can fix that for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you. It's really annoying. So what this guy is arguing is the reason why is that the Congress used to be out of session in the fall. And so that's why it's never happened. He says there has been 29 vacancies either in an election year or even in the lame duck section following a presidential election. And 29 in 19 cases. In every case, the president has made a nomination, in most cases promptly, every single time, according to this guy, right? I haven't checked his data. I'm assuming it's correct. If not, I'd love to hear about it. In 19 cases, the president's party held the Senate. 17 of 19 were filled. The exceptions being the bipartisan filibuster against Lyndon Johnson's nominees and George Washington's withdrawal and resubmission in the next Congress of a nominee who was ineligible to be confirmed. All right. So 9 of the 17 were confirmed before the election and 8 after. 3 were confirmed in lame duck post-election sessions, even though the president had just lost re-election. So according to this, what Trump is doing and what the Senate is doing, what Mitch McConnell is doing, is completely standard and by the book. And any attempt to pretend otherwise is just wrong. It's flat out lying. In 10 cases, the party opposing the president held the Senate. Only 1 of the 10 got a nominee confirmed before the election. 2 were confirmed after the election when the president's party won the election. And 1 was a pre-election recess appointment. So not approving when the other party has the Senate seems to be the norm. It's not 100%, it's not 90%, but it's still the majority of cases that hasn't happened. All right, so then he says, it is, however, true that none of the nominees confirmed before the election passed the Senate later than mid-July. Why? Mostly because the Senate was out of session. It was once common for the Senate to be out of session for much of the summer and fall, leaving aside cases where a nomination was already made and rejected before mid-July by one means or another, including Merrick Garland. There have been 6 cases where a vacancy opened or was unresolved between mid-July and the election. So, according to this, it's pretty standard. Again, fact check it me, please. This is in the National Review. The National Review, written by what's his face? I'll go back here, Dan McLaughlin. So you can check that. I think that's it, guys. It's just, the message here is not partisan. It's just, let's be honest. Let's be real about stuff. Let's remember the principles, right? How is it supposed to work? What does the Constitution say? Not whether the outcome is what I want or not, but what is the principle at play here? And let's play by the rules and play by the principles, right? So we need to get agreement on what are the principles, what are the outcomes that we want on the big scale. So, and then work downwards from there. And if that means that we don't get everything we want, hey, that's called life. That's called living with other human beings. We can't get it the way that we want it every single time, right? Or not even close. So that is how that game is played, and I think that's the only way to play the game. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Coffee with Calvin is back. How awesome is that? Let's have a sip. Good stuff. All right, see you guys. Love you. Bye. Think for yourself. Remember to think for yourself. And you and I together, we can change, we can overcome the political divide and create the world that we want to live in. We can do this. I know it, and we're going to do it. Bye.